Welcome back to Global Formula Apex, the only place on the internet where we pull back the curtain on the fastest sport in the world to show you what's really going on behind the scenes. I'm your host, and today we are talking about a seismic shift in the Formula One landscape that has left the entire paddock in a state of absolute shock. We've seen team orders, we've seen dramatic crashes, and we've seen championships won and lost in the very last corner. But what we just heard from Oscar Piastri changes everything. The young Australian has just dropped a massive bombshell on McLaren CEO Zak Brown and the newly crowned world champion Lando Norris, and let me tell you, the fallout is going to be felt all the way to the 2026 season opener. Is this the moment that finally shatters the papaya rules? For good, did Oscar just signal the end of the most harmonious driver pairing in the pit lane? You won't believe the words that actually came out of his mouth, and think about this for a moment. If the most composed driver on the grid is starting to fire shots, what does that really mean for the future of the Woking-based squad? Stay tuned, because we are doing a deep dive analysis into this shocking statement that you won't find anywhere else, and I promise you, the conclusion we've reached about Piastri's next move is worth the wait. To understand the weight of this bombshell, we have to look at the pressure cooker that was the 2025 season. McLaren didn't just return to the front, they dominated. We saw Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri trade blows race after race, sharing a staggering 14 wins between them. For the majority of the year, it looked like Oscar was the one destined for glory. He led the championship for months, displaying that Iceman-a composure that has become his trademark. But as we saw in the closing stages of the season, the momentum shifted. A string of difficult weekends in Austin and Mexico, combined with a strategic howler in Qatar that cost him dearly, allowed Lando Norris to claw back the deficit and eventually clinch the title in Abu Dhabi. Throughout this entire battle, Zak Brown and Andrea Stella preached equality. They gave us the papaya rules and a code of conduct meant to keep the peace, but behind the smiles and the champagne, the tension was building. We saw the cracks in Singapore when Lando faced internal repercussions for contact with Oscar, and we heard the radio messages where Oscar openly questioned why he was being asked to move aside. The paddock was a powder keg, and the end of season celebrations were supposed to be the moment the fuse was extinguished, but instead of a quiet winter, Oscar Piastri just lit the match. In a stunningly candid statement following the team's victory gala, Oscar didn't just play the role of the good teammate. He went on the offensive. He addressed the perceived favoritism that fans have been whispering about all year, directly challenging the narrative that he is the number 2 driver, he said, and I quote, "Lando had a great season, but he hasn't become Superman. I expect full fairness and equality, and I'm not here to be anyone's support act in 2026. Now, you might think you know how this plays out. You might think it's just a young driver showing some backbone after a tough loss, but the official statements are only half the story. What my sources inside the paddock are saying is where the real bombshell is, and that's what we're breaking down right now." Behind closed doors, it's being reported that Oscar's management team, led by the legendary Mark Webber, has begun looking at the fine print of his contract. There is talk of performance clauses and exit triggers that could become active if the team dynamic doesn't shift. This isn't just a driver venting, this is a calculated move. By publicly stating that Lando isn't Superman, Oscar is stripping away the aura of the new world champion. He is telling Zak Brown and the world that he doesn't fear the man in the other garage. This statement is a direct response to the Big Daddy comments Zak Brown made at the team party, a joke that clearly didn't sit well with a driver who feels he was strategically sacrificed at key moments in the title race. The analysis here is clear. Oscar Piastri is no longer content with being the future champion. He wants to be the champion now. By drawing this line in the sand, he has put McLaren in an impossible position. If they favor Lando as the defending champ, they risk losing the most valuable young talent in the sport to a rival like Red Bull or even Audi's growing project. If they truly let them race, they risk a repeat of the Hamilton, Alonso or Senna Prost wars that can tear a team apart from the inside. Think about the implications for the 2026 regulations. Every team is looking for a leader to guide them into the new era of power units and aerodynamics. If Oscar feels that his path to a title is blocked at McLaren by the Lando-centric atmosphere, he becomes the biggest free agent on the market. Rival teams are already circling. Red Bull is looking for a long-term successor to Max Verstappen. And what better way to weaken their closest rival than by snatching away their star protege? The reaction from the McLaren garage has been one of controlled panic. Zak Brown has spent years building this unicorn combo, and in one sentence, Oscar Piastri has reminded him that in F1, loyalty only goes as far as the next win. The key takeaway here is that the nice guy image of McLaren is officially dead. We are entering a new phase of this rivalry, one where the gloves are off. Oscar has realized that being a team player left him third in the standings while his teammate took the crown. He has learned the hardest lesson in racing. Sometimes you have to be the villain to be the victor. My bold prediction: 2026 will not be a year of papaya rules. It will be a year of civil war at Woking. I expect Oscar to come out of the winter break with a ruthlessness we haven't seen yet. He's going to stop asking for permission on the radio and start taking what he believes is his on the track. If McLaren can't manage this, we might be looking at the most explosive driver breakup since 2016. But what do you guys think? Is Oscar right to speak his mind and demand total equality, or is he being disrespectful to the new world champion and the team that gave him his start? Is this a genius move to assert dominance, or a massive mistake that will alienate him from his mechanics? Let me know your theories in the comments below. I read as many as I can and I love seeing your takes. If you enjoyed this deep dive, do me a huge favor and hit that like button. Share this video with another F1 fanatic who needs to hear this. And make sure you subscribe to Global Formula Apex so you never miss a beat as we follow this developing story. I'm already digging into the data for our next video on the 2026 engine leaks, so you definitely don't want to miss that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.